Hi everyone. For today's book review, we're going to be looking at a 2-volume set, and this set is these two. They are the Zeppelin Staaken aircraft of World War I. These two books cover the giant, or the R-planes, that the German Air Force in World War I operated and used during the second half of the First World War. They're known as R-planes, which is a German translation to the designation of them being giant bombers. This double-volume set focuses purely on the Staaken Zeppelin bombers, and it is a photographic companion of sorts to the seminal work on the subject, which is this book, The German Giants, by G.W. Haddo and Peter Gross. This book covers all of the German R-planes in World War I, as well as unrealized projects. And that particular book covers it in both technical, operational detail, as well as a combination of some diagrams and photographs. However, the two books that we are looking at today, Volume 1 and Volume 2, are mainly photographic in nature, and the author states quite clearly at the beginning that these books are a complement to the other one. Just because they are huge photo albums doesn't mean that this book is just full of pictures and no context. Quite the contrary. The author has done a fantastic job of detailing each photo with captions that provide insight and information regarding to the context of the photo and items of interest that we see in the photos. And you can see some up here in the corner. The photos are beautifully reproduced, and considering the vintage of some of these pictures, and indeed how some of them were even captured, it's quite astounding that they are as crisp and as clear as they are, and all are reproduced as well as can be. Again, you're seeing some up here in the top corner. What these two books do is they cover each Zeppelin Staaken R-plane right through from WW1 through to the tubby airliner, which is the E4. At the beginning of both volumes, we have some tabulated data about operational dimension information, as well as context regarding Zeppelin, Staaken, how they came to build the bombers, and the problems that they had. One particular problem with these giant planes was that the technology to feather propellers hadn't been invented yet, and so they had to figure out different ways of trying to prevent propellers, when they failed, to stop the drag from affecting the flight performance. One way that they ended up doing it was to change controls and have them in one central position so that the flight engineer can manipulate them and fix it. Each aircraft is detailed. There is plenty of information regarding its origin, how it was constructed, some of the problems that were either attempted to be fixed or encountered. There, for example, R6, which is my favorite, which has this quite distinctive nose section, came about because the previous versions had a nose engine, or in one model had two engines combined into one propeller in the nose, which made the planes a little too nose heavy, and they tended to land nose inwards, particularly during the nighttime. Most of these planes that were lost in the war were actually lost due to accidents or flight testing rather than in actual combat. And as I was saying, each chapter details each plane. We learned that the R4 version was the single most successful type of the Zeppelin Staaken planes. This plane was able to be deployed both on the Eastern Front and in the Western Front. The R6 variant proved to be so adequate and reliable that it entered series production, and each one of those in that series is also detailed across both Volume 1 and Volume 2. Volume 2 looks at some of the other models that were then produced, as well as seaplane alternatives, and it finishes off with the Tubby E4 airliner that, due to the restrictions imposed on Germany after World War I, this extremely promising airliner was just simply scrapped, and its potential to be a revolutionary machine in the history of aviation was eradicated. However, it is detailed in this book. While the majority of both volumes are filled with photos, there are sections with color profiles. Again, you can see this up here. And at the back of the second volume, there are some line drawings looking at top and bottom views of each of the main models that have been covered in these two books. They are a fantastic visual reference and complement the German Giants book perfectly. They can also stand on their own because there's plenty of operational and historical information within the captions and within the beginnings of each chapter to give you a really good understanding of how good, how bad, and what these planes ended up doing in their lifetime. For the modeler and illustrator, there's plenty of visual cues in these two volumes to help you. And for the modelers as well, they're in storage, but there are also the volumes written by Windsock Publications that do feature some of these bombers from World War I, and they are also extremely helpful in terms of visual cues, illustrations to help the aspiring illustrator or model maker to work on these projects. So if you are interested in World War I bombers, if you are interested in Zeppelin Staaken aircraft, if you are just interested in World War I aviation in general, then these two books are fantastic. The color profiles and the line drawings just add icing to the cake. This is a fantastic series, and for me, it's a 5 captain's hats. So if you love all of the above, then do check these two books out.